The watcher in the woods. The trees had been watching me since I left the highway. I know how that sounds, but when you drive that road at night, 2 unbroken hours of black pines pressing in from both sides, you start to feel it. A weight, an attention, as though the dark between the trunks is not empty at all, but full of something patient. I had been driving for 45 minutes when the exhaustion hit. Not the gentle warning kind, the sudden kind, the kind that drops over you like a hood. One moment I was fine, the next, the white dashes on the road were smearing and my eyes refused to stay open. I pulled off onto the shoulder, killed the headlights, and nosed the car behind a wall of bushes. Hidden, safe, I told myself. The clock read 11:22 p.m. I closed my eyes. 11:50. Something woke me. A sound so close it seemed to be inside the car, with me. A slow scraping along the driver's side door. Deliberate. Like a single fingernail, dragged with great patience from the front wheel arch to the handle. Scritch. I held my breath, did not move, did not look. After a few seconds that felt like several years, it stopped. My brain, desperate to survive the night undisturbed, told me it was an animal, a branch, the wind doing something branches do. I believed it because I needed to, and I fell back asleep. 12:40. The sound returned. Exactly the same. Slow, intentional, horrible. But this time it did not stop. My blood went cold. Animals don't leave and return an hour later to pick up exactly where they left off. Animals don't pace themselves. Animals don't seem to be waiting for a response. I forced my eyes to the rearview mirror. Something was there. I only saw it for a fraction of a second before it bolted. A dark shape, low and fast, gone into the tree line before I could make sense of its shape. It didn't run the way animals run. It ran the way people run when they've realized they've been seen. I started the engine. Around the very next bend, barely 100 yards up the road, a car sat with its driver's door hanging wide open. No lights, no engine, just a door yawning open into the dark like a mouth. I slowed to look, nobody inside. Then I checked the mirror. A figure came sprinting around a bend behind me, arms pumping, screaming words I couldn't fully hear over the rush of blood in my ears. Something like, get out of your car, now. I will never know if that person was chasing me or running from the same thing I had just escaped. I didn't stop to ask. Some questions are better left unanswered in the dark. He knew where I lived. The city is never truly quiet at midnight, but it does get still. The sounds thin out, the shadows stretch longer, and the people left on the streets at that hour are there, for reasons they don't always share. I was 2 blocks from home, a warm summer night. My bike tires hissed softly on the sidewalk. I felt perfectly safe. Then I saw him. He was walking ahead of me, a man, somewhere in his 40s, moving slowly with his hands in his pockets. Nothing alarming about him on the surface. Just a person on a summer night. The sidewalk was narrow, so I called ahead before I got too close. Hey, just behind you. He turned around. The look on his face was not surprise. It was not annoyance or confusion or any of the normal things a person shows when startled. It was fury, the cold pre-existing kind. Faster, he followed. He was screaming now. Words, I leave to your imagination. His voice bouncing off the brick fronts of the buildings, filling the empty street. I made a split decision. I couldn't let him see which house was mine, so I kept riding, looped the block, come back when he'd moved on. I came back around the corner and looked down my street and stopped, pedaling entirely. He was standing on my front stoop, not pacing, not searching, standing perfectly still in the dark, facing outward like a sentinel, like he was guarding the place, like he had always known which door was mine and had simply been waiting for me to confirm it. He saw me. He didn't move. He didn't speak. I rode back to my friend's house and didn't sleep. 2 days later, my bike vanished from the alley beside my house. I moved the following month. I told everyone it was for other reasons. I never fully believed myself. If you watched so far, I'm sure you like it. I would really appreciate you subscribing or at least liking the video. The man in the tree. I was 8 years old the first time I saw him. We lived deep in rural Georgia, the kind of deep where the nearest neighbors were a quarter mile away, and the woods came right up to the edge of the yard, like a crowd pressing against a fence. At night, the only light was moonlight, silver and absolute, casting everything into sharp relief or impenetrable shadow, nothing in between. On weekends, my parents let me sleep on the living room couch and stay up as late as I wanted. A small luxury. I always fell asleep. That night, something woke me. Not a sound, not a movement, just a feeling, the cold certainty that something had changed while I was asleep, that the darkness outside the window was no longer empty. I sat up. I looked out in the perfect silver light in the branches of the oak tree at the edge of our yard. There was a man, not climbing, not crouching, standing upright in the tree, as though the branch beneath his feet was solid ground, looking at our house with an absolute unblinking stillness. Our dog hit the window glass so hard, I felt the vibration in my chest. I ran to my parents' room. My father's face went from sleep soft to hard and focused in the space of a breath. He took something from the closet and went outside with the dogs. I buried my face in my mother's shoulder and listened to the silence outside. Do things that silence shouldn't do. He came back. Found nothing, he said. Go back to bed. I went to my room and told my sister everything in a whisper. We lay rigid in our beds while Dad walked his rounds through the house, the floorboards marking his path in soft, familiar creaks. I started to breathe again, started to believe it might have been a dream. Then I turned my head and looked at the window. He was there, closer now, just outside the glass, close enough that I could see the pale shape of his face. We stared at each other for one long, horrible moment. Then he raised one finger, slowly to his lips. Shh. He turned and walked away into the dark, not toward the road, not toward the woods, just straight back into the darkness between the trees. I cried for a long time after that. My sister held my hand. We never told our parents about the second time. I'm not sure why. Maybe because saying it out loud would have made it undeniable. Maybe because some part of us understood even then that he had chosen to leave, that our father's flashlight and his careful rounds weren't what kept us safe that night. He decided to go. That was his choice, not ours. The call that never happened. The call came at 3:04 in the morning. I know the exact time because I've looked at the log many times since, turning it over in my mind the way you press a bruise, not because you enjoy the pain, but because you need to confirm it's still real. The name on my screen was my sister's. She was asleep 15 feet down the hallway. I reached for the phone. The call ended before my fingers touched the screen, 0 seconds, exactly as though whoever placed it had only wanted to make it ring, only wanted to make sure I'd look. I got up and walked to her door. The hallway felt longer than usual in the dark. I was almost at her door when she screamed. I burst in. The room was empty. Just my sister alone, her back against the headboard, her face the color of old paper, her eyes focused on a point in the middle of the room where nothing stood. I searched every corner. Under the bed, inside the wardrobe, nothing. Nobody. When she could speak, she told me she had woken to find a presence leaning over her face, not touching, just hovering. Close enough that she could feel the displacement of air, close enough to breathe on her. She couldn't see a face, only darkness shaped like something that knew she was there. That's when she screamed. I told her she had called me. She shook her head. Her phone, she said, was downstairs. We went down together through the pressing dark and found it exactly where she had left it, in her purse on the kitchen table, half charged. Not a single outgoing call in its recent history. But on my phone, her name was right there in the log. Sister 3:04 a.m. 00. A call made from a phone that never moved by a person who was asleep. In the same moment that something was leaning over her face, in the dark, as though it wanted to make sure I was awake too, as though it wanted a witness. We've talked about it many times over the years, my sister and I. We've offered every rational explanation we could think of: network ghosts, software errors, shared dreams. None of them hold up when you look at the log. I still have it. I've never deleted it. Sometimes at night, when the house is quiet and the hallway feels long, my phone lights up on the nightstand and I take a breath, just one, before I look at the screen. Consider subscribing for more such stories.